Okay, let's dive into September 4, 2025. This wasn't just another date on the calendar. It was a day absolutely packed with headlines.
Really spinning out everywhere, wasn't it?
Yeah, from Washington, D.C. to Beijing and, well, everywhere in between. So our mission today is to cut through all that noise. Try to extract the really vital insights, connect the dots, so you can grasp the bigger picture of what truly mattered.
Looking for those surprising facts.
Exactly, the underlying currents and what these developments might mean for you.
And it's quite a mix we're looking at. We've pulled insights from a real range of sources: Reuters, Washington Post, The Guardian, AP News, quite a few others.
Right, trying to get that holistic view.
Yeah, distilling the most impactful bits of knowledge from all of them.
Because this deep dive, it isn't just about reading the news back, right?
Yeah.
It's about understanding the forces shaping things.
Hmm.
Policy, nature, all converging on this one day.
A really pivotal day, it seems.
So where should we start? How about right here at home, looking at executive power? September 4th had some, well, pretty compelling moments on that front.
It really did. The day sort of put the executive branch's reach to the test, didn't it? Stark examples of actions and the immediate pushback.
Really highlighting those fundamental questions about the balance of power.
For sure.
And it kicked off with a pretty surprising move about the Pentagon's name.
Ah, yes, the Department of War.
President Trump announced plans to revert it back to that, arguing for a more, quote, assertive warrior ethos, like it was before 1949.
Pre-Defense Department title.
He mentioned an executive order to start using the title and told Defense Secretary Hegseth to pursue a permanent change.
Yeah, and what's interesting there is the history, right? It became the Department of Defense in '49 after World War II, part of that big unification effort.
Right.
And legal scholars immediately piped up saying, hang on, a permanent name change? That usually takes an act of Congress.
Not just an executive order.
Exactly. And beyond the symbolism, maybe the real insight is how language can subtly shape, national psychology towards policy. How we think about military action, not just talk about it.
And the reactions were, well, predictable maybe. Split down the middle.
Supporters saying it shows resolve.
Critics calling it a costly distraction, maybe even illegal. And just think about the practical mess. Federal statutes, contracts, all using Department of Defense.
Right, that bureaucratic tangle. And that wasn't the only executive power play that day. There was also a big court ruling.
The Federal Appeals Court decision, yeah, pausing limits on using troops domestically.
Specifically for federal law enforcement support, immigration raids in L.A. It preserves that presidential latitude, at least for now.
And that bumps up against things like the Posse Comitatus Act, right? The law that generally keeps the military out of domestic policing.
Precisely. So this court decision really raises the stakes. It seems like it's heading for a Supreme Court showdown over those limits.
You had civil liberties groups warning about mission creep.
Sure. And the administration defending it as part of their public safety strategy. But for you listening, this is about the core limits on deploying troops inside the U.S. It affects cities, civil liberties.
A fundamental question.
Yeah.
But there was also pushback against executive power that day, too, wasn't there?
Absolutely. A check, you could say. A federal judge blocked the administration from just letting about $4 billion in foreign aid lapse.
So they couldn't just decide not to spend money Congress had already allocated.
That's the principle the judge upheld. Congress appropriates, the executive spends as directed unless Congress formally pulls the money back.
Okay, so that aid keeps flowing. For now, anyway.
Right. The administration said they'd appeal, but aid groups, some lawmakers, they saw it as a crucial check on executive overreach.
A real-world example of checks and balances, affecting things far beyond D.C. Global aid, U.S. foreign policy.
And one more on this theme, the independent agencies. The administration went to the Supreme Court.
About firing the FTC commissioner, Rebecca Slaughter.
Exactly. Arguing they should have at-will removal power, even for these independent commissions.
That feels significant. Because the FTC, agencies like it, they have real power-making rules, enforcing them. Almost like mini legislatures or courts.
It could totally reshape presidential control over them. Think antitrust, consumer protection policy. Critics warned it would politicize these expert bodies.
While the White House angle was more about accountability for regulators.
Right, but the bottom line for you is that your consumer protections, market competition, that could be directly impacted by who holds the reins at these agencies.
Okay, so from the Beltway battles, let's shift to another really contentious area. Public health. September 4th saw some major clashes there, too.
It really did. You could almost feel the growing divide over public health strategy and, the government's role versus individual choice. It was very visible that day.
Absolutely. You had HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in that pretty raucous Senate hearing.
Yeah, the Finance Committee looked intense.
Intense bipartisan grilling, apparently, over his vaccine skepticism, staffing changes at health agencies, those narrowed COVID shot recommendations.
And that hearing just seemed to deepen the divides, didn't it? Partisan splits, but also splits between political appointees and, say, the established medical community.
You had medical groups warning it could undermine years of public health progress.
While his supporters framed it as necessary reform, shaking up, quote, captured institutions, it's a debate that goes way beyond one person. It's about the future of public health advice and maybe, most importantly, public trust.
And then, almost amplifying that, Florida dropped a bombshell announcement.
The vaccine mandates for schools.
Yeah, plans to abolish all of them. Measles, polio, everything, citing controversial remarks from their Surgeon General, Joseph Ladapo.
Wow. That definitely makes Florida a national outlier, especially when you see states like California going the other way, reinforcing mandates.
Predictably, it drew immediate sharp criticism from groups like the AMA.
Warning about reversing decades of progress, risking disease outbreaks. It really puts that core question front and center, doesn't it? How do communities balance individual rights and collective health when a decision like this hits?
Huge implications for health and safety. Okay, let's broaden our view now. Go global. September 4th also saw some really significant shifts in alliances and ongoing conflicts.
Yeah, zooming out, you definitely saw signals of a deepening alignment among authoritarian states and also just an intensification of some really critical regional conflicts.
We certainly get. Let's start in Beijing, that massive military parade.
But the WWII anniversary, yeah, with Xi Jinping front and center.
And flanked by Vladimir Putin and North Korea's Kim Jong-un. It was quite the spectacle, clearly designed to showcase China's power and its ties with Russia and North Korea.
And that visual message, that tightening alignment, it definitely worries Western capitals. Concerns about weapons cooperation, dodging sanctions.
For China, it's projecting strength. For Russia and North Korea,
it's getting legitimacy, partnership on a global stage they might not otherwise have. And interestingly, Putin even mentioned talking with Xi about, advanced medical stuff, organ transplants, lifespan extension.
Really? That shows a pretty broad scope of cooperation, then.
Yeah, much broader. So these aren't just photo ops. They are powerful signals about a changing world order, new power blocks forming.
Okay, shifting to another global hotspot, Gaza. The conflict there really seemed to intensify on the 4th.
It did. The Israeli military claimed they controlled about 40% of Gaza City, announced plans to push deeper into those dense areas.
And the human cost. Reports of 84 Palestinians killed in just 24 hours. Plus, Hamas released a new hostage video.
Right, escalating the pressure for some kind of deal. And all this is drawing real alarm from the region. Egypt reiterated, no forced displacement of Palestinians.
And the rhetoric from Europe seemed to be hardening too.
Yeah, a senior EU official used the word genocide, which Israel, of course, strongly rejects. But it shows the level of international condemnation.
So ceasefire prospects, still looking uncertain.
Very uncertain. You've got the battlefield push, the hostage politics, the international pressure. It's incredibly complex. A real humanitarian crisis unfolding.
And layering onto that volatile mix, there was that proposal from Israeli Minister Smotrich.
The West Bank annexation plan.
Proposing annexation of, 82% of the occupied West Bank.
Yeah. A move that critics say would essentially kill any possibility of a future Palestinian state. And it could unravel the Abraham Accords, too.
Those normalization deals Israel made with some Arab nations.
Exactly. So that proposal immediately sparked huge concern regionally and internationally. Alarm bells ringing in the U.S., Europe, a decision with massive implications for stability and peace prospects there.
All right, let's pivot now. Let's talk economy, markets, your wallet. September 4th had some key signals there, too.
Definitely. It was a day that really showed how sensitive global markets are to policy signals, economic data, and how that directly impacts investments and, costs for everybody.
A good example was that confirmation hearing for Stephen Miran, the Fed nominee.
Right. He was pressed pretty hard by senators.
And he made a point of saying he was not at all a puppet of the president, stressing the need for central bank independence. Lawmakers asked about rates, tariffs, political pressure.
And market watchers paid close attention because who leads the Fed? their stance, that can really shift expectations about interest rate cuts, for example.
So this hearing fed into that bigger debate about how the Fed should weigh economic data versus, say, White House trade policies.
Exactly. And that Fed independence is seen as crucial for stable monetary policy, which affects everything from your mortgage rate to whether businesses are hiring.
And the markets definitely reacted to something that day. We saw a big rally in U.S. stocks. S&P 500 hit a record close,
Treasury yields fell too.
driven mostly by soft jobs data, apparently. Job openings, private payroll numbers came in maybe weaker than expected.
Yeah, and that boosted hopes the Fed might cut rates later in the month. It really highlights how much equity valuations right now are being driven by this macro data and policy expectations.
Right. At the same time, oil prices dipped.
Slipped over 1%, partly due to a surprise build in U.S. oil inventories, and also OPEC Plus signaling they might actually increase output soon.
So you see these direct impacts, investments, retirement accounts, and obviously what you pay at the pump.
All interconnected.
Okay, beyond the big policy and power plays, September 4th also brought some really poignant human stories. Loss, legacy, just that reminder of life's unpredictability.
Yeah, and these stories make you think about, our vulnerability to nature, how policy actually hits people's daily lives, and how we remember those who shaped things.
We saw devastating wildfires in California forcing evacuations, towns like Chinese Camp affected, plus the Justice Department actually sued a utility over sparking past fires.
Right, and then halfway across the world, deadly earthquakes in eastern Afghanistan. Magnitude 6+.
Killing dozens, injuring many more, aid agencies warning about aftershocks, landslides making a bad situation worse.
And elsewhere, too, that eruption of Kilauea in Hawaii, a mass stabbing in Canada on a First Nation, that tragic streetcar derailment in Lisbon.
2 Canadians died in that one, many injured. Just a reminder of the suddenness of these events.
Powerful reminders of nature's force, but also these unexpected human tragedies. And they often connect back to policy, too, like disaster response, or in the case of the utility lawsuit, accountability.
And amidst all that, we also noted the passing of some significant figures.
Yes, the Duchess of Kent passed away peacefully at 92.
Remembered for her quiet public service, supporting music and charities. And then the fashion world lost a giant. Giorgio Armani died at 91.
An incredible legacy there. Really reshaped modern style, built this huge global luxury brand.
And his death immediately brought up questions about succession, right?
Yeah.
How to manage this fiercely independent company he built.
Yeah, it makes you reflect on the impact individuals have on culture, on institutions, and also just that natural cycle of generational change.
And finally, one more policy decision, but one that really hits home for travelers.
The airline compensation rule.
Yeah, the Trump administration decided to shelve that proposed rule, the one that would have required airlines to compensate passengers for long delays and cancellations.
And that drew immediate fire from consumer groups, right? They saw it as taking away leverage needed to make airlines more reliable.
While the airlines, well, they welcomed it, arguing it helps them avoid higher costs.
And while some states might want to step in with their own rules, federal law often preempts state action in aviation, so their hands are somewhat tied.
So this isn't just abstract policy. For you listening, this could change your experience next time your flight is massively delayed.
Yeah.
Maybe fewer options for recourse.
It subtly shifts the balance back towards the airlines.
So when we step back and look at everything from September 4th, 2025, what's the takeaway? It feels like a day that just laid bare so many forces shaping our world.
It really did. If you connect the dots, you see that push and pull of executive power. You see geopolitical alliances solidifying, those urgent public health debates getting sharper.
And even the individual stories, loss and legacy, they all weave together, don't they?
Exactly. It creates this really intricate tapestry of our present moment, all happening or coming to a head on that single day.
Well, we hope this deep dive has given you a bit of a shortcut to being truly informed. Not just the headlines, but maybe some context, some connections that make it all resonate a bit more.
And maybe it leaves you with a question to think about.
No.
As you reflect on all this, the Pentagon name, the Gaza conflict, the Fed nominee, the volcano, Armani's passing, how do these individual pieces contribute to the bigger story of our time? What part of September 4th, 2025 makes you want to dig a little deeper?